Discovery and denial. High Admiral Vexthera's tendrils writhed in agitation as she studied the intelligence report for the fourth time. Her crystalline eyes reflected the holographic images floating before her in the command center of the hegemony's flagship, Eternal Dawn. "This cannot be accurate," she declared, her voice resonating with harmonics of disbelief. "Our sensors must be malfunctioning. The humans are a quarantine species. They barely achieved fusion power 50 cycles ago." Fleet analyst Zorkath adjusted his atmospheric processors nervously. "The data is verified, High Admiral. Multiple deep space probes confirm it. The humans have constructed approximately 300 warships in their solar system's asteroid belt. They've somehow managed to hide them from our routine surveillance by dispersing them among the mining operations we authorized." The massive chamber fell silent except for the soft hum of quantum computers and life support systems. The other high-ranking members of the Galactic Hegemony's military council shifted uncomfortably in their environment suits. Each represented a different member species of the 1,000-year-old alliance that maintained order across 20,000 light-years of space. "Show me the vessels again," Vexthera commanded, her tendrils now perfectly still, a sign of intense concentration among her species. The hologram expanded, displaying detailed scans of human ships. They were ugly by hegemony standards, all sharp angles and exposed structural elements, lacking the elegant biomechanical aesthetics of proper civilized vessels. But there was something about them that troubled the High Admiral deeply. "These designs are unorthodox," observed war strategist Kenra, his chitinous exoskeleton clicking as he moved closer to the display. "Look at how they've integrated their mining equipment directly into the hull. Those plasma cutters could be repurposed as weapons. And those cargo bays, they're reinforced far beyond what's needed for ore transport." Vexthera felt a chill run through her chromatophores. They've been planning this since we first contacted them. Every mining permit we granted, every trade agreement for basic technology. They were building a war fleet under our mandate. "Impossible," thundered General Eth of the Martial Concordat, his gravitational stabilizers struggling to contain his agitation. "These are primitives. Their civilization still fights over planetary resources. They haven't even unified their governance." Zorkath cleared his throat tubes. "That's what makes this situation particularly concerning, Colonel. Our psychological models suggest their fractious nature should have prevented this level of cooperation. Yet somehow they've manufactured a fleet larger than any single hegemony member species maintains, all in secret." The hologram shifted to show a massive structure buried within a hollowed-out asteroid. Thermal readings indicated vast energy signatures, and regular patterns of movement suggested automated manufacturing systems. "This is their primary production facility," Zorkath explained. "They've transformed an entire asteroid into a shipyard. The energy output suggests matter-conversion technology far beyond what we provided them. They've made technological leaps that should have taken centuries." Vexthera's tendrils began to pulse with warning colors. How did they achieve this? Where did they acquire the knowledge? "They didn't acquire it, High Admiral," Zorkath said quietly. "They developed it independently. Our analysis suggests they reverse-engineered principles from the basic trade goods we permitted them, then expanded on those concepts in ways our scientists hadn't considered. They're innovative in ways we struggle to predict." The chamber erupted in overlapping frequencies of denial and debate. Vexthera raised her primary appendages for silence, and the council members gradually quieted. "We faced 2 options," she declared. "We can acknowledge this fleet's existence and formally censure the humans for violating quarantine restrictions, or we can pretend our discovery never happened while we develop countermeasures." War strategist Kenra's antennae twitched. "The humans must suspect we'll detect their fleet eventually. Why reveal their capabilities now? Unless..." His voice trailed off as the implications became clear. "Unless this is exactly what they want," Vexthera finished. "They're announcing their presence on their own terms, demonstrating strength while technically remaining within the bounds of our regulations. Their mining operations were legitimate. We never explicitly forbade using those resources for shipbuilding. Clever primitives, General Eth rumbled reluctantly. They found the gaps in our laws and exploited them perfectly. Vexthera studied the holographic fleet once more, her chromatophores shifting to deep purple, a sign of grave concern among her kind. We need to reassess everything we thought we knew about humans. A species that can accomplish this level of deception and engineering while appearing primitive is far more dangerous than any direct military threat. The council chamber grew cold as the implications sank in. The hegemony had encountered many species over its 1,000-year history, but none had ever managed to surprise them quite like this. As Vexthera dismissed her advisors, she couldn't shake the feeling that the galaxy's balance of power had already shifted, and the humans knew it. In the darkness of her private chambers later, she reviewed the footage one final time. The human ships hung in the void like predators waiting to strike, their rough-hewn forms a testament to humanity's resourcefulness and determination. The hegemony had made a terrible mistake in underestimating them. She only hoped they would survive learning from it. The engineering marvel. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of asteroid station Prometheus, watching automated manufacturing units carve through the rocky mass of what had once been a simple mining operation. The massive cavity inside the asteroid now housed humanity's greatest technological achievement, and its best-kept secret. Beautiful, isn't it? James Rodriguez, her chief engineer, joined her at the window. Below them, robotic assemblers wove together the hull of humanity's newest warship using materials extracted from the very asteroid that concealed them. The hegemony sensors just detected our older vessels. They still haven't found this facility. Sarah smiled grimly. They're looking for traditional shipyards. Nobody expects a mining station to house quantum forges and dark matter extractors. She tapped her tablet, bringing up the latest efficiency reports. How's the new gravitational focusing system performing? Better than we hoped, James replied, his eyes lighting up with engineering pride. By using the asteroid's natural mass as a containment field, we're achieving 300% better efficiency than conventional designs. The hegemony's engineers would have heart attacks if they knew we'd solved the gravitational containment problem they've been struggling with for centuries. Their conversation was interrupted by a priority alert. Admiral Helena Santos, commander of Earth's secret fleet program, appeared on the main screen. Her dark features were tight with tension. Dr. Chen, the Hegemony Council just concluded an emergency session. They're sending an inspection team to verify our mining operations comply with quarantine protocols. You have 72 hours to make this look like a legitimate resource extraction facility. Sarah exchanged glances with James. They'd prepared for this possibility, but not so soon. We'll be ready, Admiral. The modular systems were designed to be reconfigured quickly. Actually, she paused, a familiar glint in her eye that James recognized as her crazy idea of expression. What are you thinking? Admiral Santos asked. Instead of hiding everything, let's show them exactly what they expect to see, and use it to hide what we don't want them to find. Sarah's fingers flew across her tablet, pulling up schematics. The hegemony believes we're primitive. Their inspection protocols are designed to catch primitive attempts at deception. James caught on immediately. We can run the quantum forges at full power, right in front of them. They'll register as standard fusion reactors on their sensors because that's what they're calibrated to detect. Their own assumptions become our camouflage. Over the next 3 days, Prometheus Station underwent a remarkable transformation. Advanced manufacturing systems were hidden in plain sight, disguised as crude human attempts at automation. Revolutionary quantum technology was masked behind primitive interfaces designed to fool hegemony scanners. When the inspection team arrived, led by Senior Inspector Kralvox of the Hegemony Science Directory, they found exactly what they expected. A somewhat impressive but clearly primitive human mining operation. Your efficiency ratings are remarkable for your technology level, Kralvox noted, his environmental suit's sensors sweeping the facility. "Though your methods seem unorthodox." Sarah played her role perfectly, beaming with carefully calculated pride. "We've had to adapt to working in space with limited resources, Inspector. Every piece of equipment serves multiple functions. These plasma cutters, for instance, they're modified to both extract ore and process it in place." The inspector's artificial eyes focused on the plasma cutter array, completely missing the quantum manipulation field disguised within its housing. "Clever, if inefficient by our standards. Though I'm curious about these power readings." "Oh, we're pushing our fusion reactors to the limit," James explained enthusiastically. "Had a few close calls figuring out the proper containment protocols. Would you like to examine our safety systems? We're quite proud of them." Kralvox's attention shifted exactly as intended, drawn to investigating the seemingly dangerous, but actually harmless power systems. Meanwhile, the quantum forges continued their work behind layers of technological camouflage, building components for humanity's next generation of warships. The inspection team spent 3 days combing through Prometheus Station. They found exactly what humanity wanted them to find: an ambitious but technologically limited mining operation, pushing primitive human engineering to its limits. After they departed, Sarah and James stood again at the observation window, watching the inspector's ship vanish into the darkness of space. "They really don't understand us at all, do they?" James mused. "They're so advanced, they've forgotten how to truly innovate. Everything has to fit their established models." Sarah nodded. "That's why we'll win if it comes to war. They see technology as a linear progression. We see it as a puzzle to be solved by any means necessary." She gestured to the quantum forge, now running at full capacity again. "They're still trying to perfect their existing designs. We're out here asking, what if we did something completely different?" Deep in the asteroid's heart, the forge's exotic matter containment field pulsed with energy as it assembled another section of hull plating. The material it created was stronger than anything the hegemony had developed, not because humans had better technology, but because they'd approached the problem from an entirely different direction. Admiral Santo's voice came through their communicators. "Good work, everyone. The inspection team's preliminary report suggests they suspect nothing. Time to move to Phase 2. Sarah smiled, pulling up the schematics for their next project. The hegemony thought they'd discovered humanity's secret fleet. They had no idea that what they found was just the prototype phase. The real fleet, the one being built in stations like Prometheus throughout the asteroid belt, would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. And it would do so not through superior technology or overwhelming force, but through humanity's greatest weapons: creativity, adaptability, and the ability to see solutions where others saw only limitations. First contact gone wrong. Captain Maya Patel stood on the bridge of the NSS Archimedes, outwardly projecting calm while her ship faced down 3 hegemony cruisers. The massive alien vessels loomed against the starfield, their biomechanical hulls gleaming with an otherworldly iridescence that made them look more like deep-sea creatures than spacecraft. "They're hailing us again," Lieutenant Commander David Chen reported from his communications station. "Same message as before. Power down your drives and prepare for inspection under Article 7 of the Quarantine Protocols." Maya allowed herself a small smile. "Send them our previous response. This is a registered mining vessel conducting authorized operations under Trade Agreement 23B. We are outside the quarantine zone." She knew what the hegemony ships were really doing here. This wasn't about quarantine violations. It was a show of force, meant to intimidate the newly discovered human fleet. But they'd chosen the wrong target. The Archimedes looked like a patchwork mining vessel, its hull studded with drilling equipment and processing modules. The hegemony cruisers, each nearly 10 times its size, probably expected an easy demonstration of their superiority. "Multiple energy spikes," reported Lieutenant Sarah Wong from Tactical. "They're powering up their gravitic projectors. Looks like they're trying to establish a containment field around us." "Right on schedule. Maya nodded. Engineering, initiate Protocol Omega. Deep within the Archimedes, systems that appeared to be simple ore processing units began to hum with carefully hidden power. The ship's true nature was about to be revealed, but not in the way the hegemony expected. The lead alien cruiser fired its gravitic projectors, invisible beams of force reaching out to ensnare the human vessel. Standard procedure for the hegemony: use overwhelming force to establish dominance, while technically remaining within legal boundaries. But the Archimedes didn't behave like any ship they'd encountered before. Instead of fighting against the gravitational field or being helplessly drawn in, it seemed to absorb the energy, its hull brightening with a strange luminescence. "They're scanning us," Chen reported. "Their energy readings must be going crazy right about now." Maya's smile widened. "Time to show them what human engineering can do. Lieutenant Wang, activate the gravitational redistribution array." The Archimedes' hull blazed with captured energy. What the hegemony didn't understand was that every piece of mining equipment on its surface was part of an interconnected system designed to harvest and redirect gravitational forces. Their attempt to trap the human ship had just armed it with their own power. "Array charged to 300% capacity," Wang announced. "Ready on your mark." "Send them one final message," Maya ordered. "Respectfully suggest you power down your projectors. We cannot guarantee safe dissipation of reflected gravitational forces." The hegemony ships maintained their attack for several more seconds before the physics of the situation became apparent to them. The gravitational forces they were generating weren't containing the Archimedes. They were being absorbed, redirected, and amplified through systems disguised as mining equipment. "They're powering down," Chen reported, unable to keep the satisfaction from his voice. "Getting a lot of confused communications chatter between their ships. I imagine their sensors are telling them some very interesting things right now," Maya said. "Engineering, begin controlled discharge of the captured energy. Let's give them a light show they won't forget." The Archimedes released the stored gravitational energy in a carefully choreographed display, creating ripples in space-time that spread out like waves on a pond. It was completely harmless. The energy was too diffused to cause damage. But the visual effect was spectacular. "Multiple new contacts," Wang announced. "Looks like the rest of their battle group is arriving. 7 more cruisers dropping out of FTL." Maya nodded, unconcerned. "Right on time. Colonel Martinez, you're cleared to proceed." Suddenly, the asteroid field around them came alive. What had appeared to be ordinary rocks began to move with purpose, their surfaces splitting apart to reveal hidden weapons arrays and engine ports. 24 human ships, each disguised as a mining asteroid, powered up their systems. "Signal from Colonel Martinez," Chen reported. "Task Force Trojan Horse is active and awaiting orders." The hegemony ships found themselves surrounded by a force that had been hiding in plain sight. Each human vessel was unique, a testament to human ingenuity in adapting mining equipment into military hardware. "Open a channel to all hegemony vessels," Maya commanded. "Priority signal." She stood straight, knowing her image would be transmitted to every alien ship. "This is Captain Maya Patil of the New Solar System Defense Force. You have entered a restricted mining operation zone and interfered with authorized commercial activities. Under Article 23B of our trade agreement, we are entitled to defend our economic interests with appropriate force." She paused, letting the implications sink in. "We would prefer to resolve this peacefully. Your gravitic attack on our vessel has been logged and reported to both Hegemony Central Command and Earth's Diplomatic Corps. I suggest we all take a step back and let our respective governments handle this through proper channels." The hegemony ships hung motionless in space, their commanders undoubtedly struggling to process how completely they'd misread the situation. They had arrived expecting to intimidate a primitive species. Instead, they discovered that humans had not only anticipated their tactics, but had developed innovative countermeasures. After what seemed like an eternity, the hegemony fleet began to withdraw. their biomechanical ships sliding back into FTL space with an almost organic grace. "They're gone," Wong confirmed. "All ships returning to patrol patterns." Maya finally allowed herself to relax slightly. "Send word to Admiral Santos. The hegemony just got their first real lesson in human capabilities. Let's hope they're smart enough to learn from it." As the disguised ships of Task Force Trojan Horse resumed their positions in the asteroid field, Maya knew this was just the beginning. The hegemony would return, better prepared next time. But humanity would be ready, with more innovations and surprises they'd never see coming. Because that was the real secret of human engineering. It never stopped evolving, never stopped finding new ways to solve problems. And if the hegemony couldn't understand that, they were in for many more surprises. Unconventional warfare. The hegemony's return was everything Admiral Helena Santos had expected: massive, overwhelming, and completely predictable. 300 capital ships dropped out of FTL simultaneously, their biomechanical forms creating an artificial eclipse against the sun as viewed from Earth. In the Strategic Command Center deep beneath the lunar surface, Helena watched the holographic display with her senior staff. The alien fleet's formation was perfect, their technology far superior to humanity's visible forces. By all conventional military analysis, Earth's defeat should have been inevitable. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies," reported General Marcus Chen, "demanding our immediate surrender and the dismantling of our illegal fleet." Helena smiled. "Right into our trap. Colonel Rodriguez, are your mining crews in position?" "Yes, Admiral. Operation Anthill is ready." The hegemony fleet moved forward in textbook formation, their ships arranged to counter any conventional military response. What they didn't realize was that humanity had no intention of fighting conventionally. "Signal all stations," Helena ordered. "Begin Phase 1. Throughout the asteroid belt, hundreds of seemingly abandoned mining stations suddenly activated. But instead of weapons, they began broadcasting a complex web of gravitational signals, identical to the patterns created by unstable ore deposits. The hegemony fleet sensors, calibrated to detect and avoid natural hazards, immediately registered thousands of potentially dangerous anomalies. Their perfect formation began to fragment as ships adjusted course to avoid what their systems identified as imminent asteroid collapses. "They're splitting up exactly as predicted," Rodriguez reported. "Their safety protocols are working against them." Helena nodded. Phase 2. Release the swarm. From hidden bays throughout the asteroid belt, tens of thousands of objects no larger than coffee tables emerge. Each was technically classified as a mineral extraction drone under trade agreements, but these had been modified far beyond their original purpose. The hegemony ships detected the swarm but classified them as debris from mining operations, right until the moment the drones activated their magnetic grapples and attached themselves to the alien vessel's hulls. "What are these devices?" demanded the hegemony commander over the emergency channel. "This violation of quarantine protocols will not be tolerated." Helena activated her comm. "This is Admiral Santos. Those are standard mining drones, conducting authorized mineral surveys of unknown objects in our system. If you check Trade Agreement 23B, Section 7, you'll find we're well within our rights to analyze any unidentified materials entering our mining zones." The drones weren't weapons. They were simply conducting deep scans of the hegemony ship's hull materials. But those scans were purposefully disruptive, interfering with the biomechanical vessel's sensor systems and navigation capabilities. "Phase 3, Helena commanded. "Let's show them our civilian response." Across the solar system, humanity's merchant fleet began to move. Hundreds of cargo ships, tankers, and personnel transports adjusted their courses, creating a complex dance of civilian traffic. Each vessel broadcast standard commercial identification signals, making it impossible for the hegemony to target military ships without risking an attack on civilian craft, a clear violation of galactic law. "They're stuck," General Chen observed. Their own rules of engagement prevent them from firing on civilian ships, but they can't distinguish our warships from legitimate commercial traffic anymore. The hegemony commander's voice crackled over the comm again, this time with barely contained frustration. Your tactics are unworthy of civilized combat. Face us in proper battle. We are facing you, Helena replied calmly. We're simply conducting normal commercial operations in our own solar system. If your ships are experiencing difficulties, we would be happy to dispatch repair drones. Under Article 15 of the Safety Protocols, we're obligated to offer assistance to any vessels in distress. That offer was perhaps the most devious part of the strategy. The repair drones would be legally authorized to attach themselves to the hegemony ships and begin repairs, giving humanity's engineers direct access to alien technology under the guise of humanitarian aid. The hegemony fleet hung in space, paralyzed by the impossible tactical situation. They couldn't fire without violating their own laws, couldn't move effectively due to the drone interference, and couldn't even retreat without appearing to reject legitimate offers of assistance. Admiral, Rodriguez reported, we're detecting power fluctuations in their flagship. Their biomechanical systems are starting to react badly to the sustained sensor interference. Helena had expected this. The hegemony's superior technology was also more delicate, more dependent on complex biological components that could be disrupted by seemingly primitive scanning equipment. Humanity's crude technology was actually more robust in some ways. Send them our final message, she ordered. Given the apparent technical difficulties affecting your fleet, we propose an immediate diplomatic consultation to address these navigation hazards. We're concerned that your ship's current operational status may pose a risk to civilian traffic in the system. It was a masterpiece of diplomatic maneuvering. Every single action humanity had taken was technically legal under existing agreements. The hegemony had arrived expecting to crush primitive warriors, only to find themselves ensnared by lawyers, bureaucrats, and civilian mining regulations. Hours later, as the hegemony fleet withdrew under the cover of emergency maintenance requirements, Helena gathered her staff for a debriefing. They'll be back, General Chen warned, with countermeasures. Of course they will, Helena agreed, but they'll never be able to predict our next move because they don't understand how we think. They see military power as something separate from civilian technology. We see every tool, every regulation, every piece of equipment as a potential tactical asset. She gestured to the holographic display, where the last hegemony ships were vanishing into FTL. Today we defeated one of the most powerful fleets in the galaxy without firing a single shot. Not because we were stronger, but because we refused to fight the way they expected us to fight. The victory had been unconventional, unexpected, and thoroughly human. And somewhere in the hegemony command structure, Helena knew, aliens were beginning to realize that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their technology or their ships. It was their endless capacity to innovate, adapt, and find new solutions to old problems. A new balance of power. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Hegemony had never seen anything quite like this. For the first time in its 1,000-year history, representatives of a quarantined species stood before the full council. Dr. Sarah Chen and Admiral Helena Santos faced the assembled alien leaders, their simple dress contrasting sharply with the ornate biomechanical environment suits of the council members. High Admiral Vex Theris' tendrils rippled with barely contained agitation. You must understand our position. No species has ever advanced from quarantine to full membership without centuries of supervision. Yet here you stand, demanding immediate recognition. With respect, Sarah responded, her voice calm. We're not demanding anything. We're offering an opportunity for mutual benefit. She gestured to the holographic display hovering above the chamber center, showing the schematics of human innovations. Our quantum forge technology alone could revolutionize ship construction throughout the galaxy. Technology you developed using knowledge gained from trade agreements meant for basic industrial development, rumbled General Ith. Some would call that deception. Helena stepped forward. We call it innovation. Every piece of technology we developed was built on principles openly shared through those agreements. We simply looked at them differently. She paused, letting her words sink in. That's what we're offering the hegemony, not just our technology, but our perspective. The chamber erupted in overlapping frequencies of debate. Council members argued in dozens of languages, their universal translators struggling to keep up with the emotional outbursts. Through it all, the two humans stood quietly, waiting. Finally, war strategist Kenra raised his crystalline appendages for silence. Perhaps we should consider what these humans are actually demonstrating. In less than 50 cycles, they've shown us three things we believed impossible. His image projection shifted, displaying scenes from recent events. First, they unify their fractious species enough to build a secret fleet while maintaining perfect operational security. Second, they developed entirely new approaches to physics and engineering that our scientists hadn't considered. And third, he focused his sensory arrays on Helena. They defeated our most powerful battle fleet without destroying a single ship. Precisely, Sarah agreed. We don't want to fight the hegemony. We want to work with you. Imagine combining your advanced technology with our innovative thinking. The possibilities are endless. High Admiral Vexthera's chromatophores shifted through patterns of deep thought. You speak of cooperation, yet you concealed a military fleet. We concealed a fleet because we knew this moment would come, Helena interjected. We needed to ensure we could negotiate as equals, not supplicants. Every step we took was designed to demonstrate our capabilities while avoiding actual conflict. The chamber grew quiet as the implications sank in. The humans hadn't just built warships. They'd orchestrated a complex technological, military, and diplomatic campaign specifically to reach this moment. Fleet analyst Zorkath's voice cut through the silence. The mining drones, the civilian traffic patterns, the repair protocols. You never intended to fight us at all, did you? The entire confrontation was theater, designed to force this very meeting. Sarah smiled. We studied your histories. Direct military confrontation would have united the hegemony against us. But by demonstrating our capabilities through technically legal means, we created a situation where cooperation became the logical choice. Magnificent, whispered Kenra. They've been playing a strategy game so subtle we didn't even realize we were participants. High Admiral Vexthera rose from her gravity throne, her tendrils now glowing with the colors of formal declaration. The Council will recess to consider your proposal. But before we do, I must ask, what guarantee do we have that humanity won't use these same innovative tactics against the hegemony once accepted as members? Helena's response was immediate. The same guarantee you have from any member species, mutual benefit. We've demonstrated our capabilities not to threaten, but to show what we can contribute. Together, we can solve problems neither of our civilizations could tackle alone. As the council members filed out, Sarah and Helena shared a knowing look. The hard part was done. The hegemony had finally begun to understand that humanity's real strength wasn't in their ships or technology. It was in their ability to see possibilities where others saw only rules and limitations. 3 days later, the council reconvened. The vote wasn't unanimous, but it was decisive. Humanity would be granted full membership in the galactic hegemony, with special dispensation to maintain their unconventional research and development programs. As Sarah and Helena prepared to return to Earth, High Admiral Vexthera approached them privately. You realize, she said, her translator struggling to convey the complex harmonics of her speech, this changes everything. Other species will study what you've done. Try to emulate your methods. Good, Sarah replied. That's exactly what we hoped for. The galaxy needs new perspectives, new ways of thinking. We're not here to dominate, Admiral. We're here to catalyze change. The age of stagnation is over, Helena added. Together, we'll build something greater than either of us could have imagined alone. As their ship broke orbit from the hegemony capital world, they watched the massive biomechanical structures recede into the distance. Already, Joint human-alien research teams were forming, preparing to combine hegemony technology with human innovation. "Think they'll ever fully understand us?" Sarah asked, watching alien ships maneuver with perfect, predictable precision. Helena smiled. "Probably not. And that's exactly why this will work. We'll keep surprising them. They'll keep amazing us, and the galaxy will never be the same." In the depths of space, human mining ships continued their work, now openly displaying the quantum forges and gravity manipulation systems that had been hidden for so long. But everyone knew this was just the beginning. Somewhere in the asteroid belt, in laboratories and workshops throughout human space, engineers and scientists were already working on the next impossible thing. Because that was what humans did best. They saw what could be instead of what was, and they never stopped pushing the boundaries of possibility. The galaxy was about to discover just how far those boundaries could stretch.